that's the way it's set
That's
up.
the way they explained it to us. anyway.
That's the way it's set up.
Yeah.
I mean, you really go forward, and they spend the time and they spend the money, as do you, to go and come up with what the problems are, how do you resolve those problems, and what is the preferred solution to those problems. And then once they've stepped up and said, okay, we're willing to go and fund our share of it, then it's the town's obligation to go and step up similarly and fund their obligation. And if that doesn't happen, what they like to say is, we have 351 communities out there, and everybody's in, to a certain extent, a competition for a limited amount of resources.
And we're right now at a stage where there's very few projects at the stage that we're at right now going forward with the MSBA.
You're in a good spot right now.
Yeah.
When you're talking approval, you're talking the final approval in January that the 120 days start, or some other, because we've been talking about going to town meeting and hopefully a town vote in that same January timeframe. In fact, I don't know who told us this, but we have been told that we could actually vote even before the MSBA approved the project at a town meeting to approve this.
I think, Mel, and again, that needs to be worked out, we're gonna have to do a special town meeting no matter how we cut it.
Right.
So I think at the time we get to, or close to the approval from the MSBA, I mean, and I'm thinking out loud, we have a meeting tomorrow night of the Secondary School Building Committee, but I'm thinking we're probably gonna look for an approval before we actually have the town meeting. Maybe we could try to schedule a town meeting before the approval, but I think the town meeting would probably come after the approval.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, because I don't want people to think that we're gonna take those 120 days, because that would bring us into May. We want approval well before May from this project, from both the town meeting and
We want
special
approval
election.
as quickly logistically as we can do it after the MSBA approval. Yeah.
But we've talked about this, special town meeting, special vote, but I think what we need to do is have the town meeting just before the vote, because that will give an additional opportunity to showcase the project.
Well, I think that goes without
And
saying, we're gonna have the
explain
town
the
meeting before the override vote.
But we ought to have those
Absolutely.
Very close.
scheduled so that they come.
Yeah.
Because my question is if we know the date that MSBA is going to consider this for approval, it's January 10th, say, why can't we already have on the schedule for January 12th for a special town meeting?
You can, but there's some costs that are incurred when you schedule a town meeting.
No, but I'm saying, if we know the date that they're gonna vote on it, why can't we already have that date on the?
We could, Mel. What I'm trying to say is if they don't approve it, now you've got a town meeting scheduled and it's not approved.
Well, if they don't approve it, I
But-
guess it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, then you've incurred the cost of time. I think these are just logistic things that we're gonna obviously look at the very fastest path towards getting
Well,
approval.
that's what, I just don't want, I hope we don't, wait 120,
Well,
use
I
those
don't-
120
Yeah,
days.
I don't think we have any intention.
I'd like to
of
use
doing that.
about one of those 120 days, because this thing is 10 years overdue, in my opinion, and any more, time, any less time is valuable to
Yeah.
us to get a new project.
We're looking ahead, but at the same time, we're taking one step at a time. I mean, trying to
Right.
get through this process, so.
Hey, Jerry?
Yes.
So say it gets approved, everything's approved by January 12th, when do they break ground and start working on it?
Well, they would be ready to break ground pretty quickly
Right
because
after
of
the
the.
frost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would probably be in the fall next year, realistically, and trying to get some of the site work, early site work packages out, and maybe the foundation and the steel typically are the three that like to
Fall
go
of
early.
2012?
Correct. So, we still have to, while, we'll be down the road, we still will have not, in January, really got into the more detailed design. We'll really be at a schematic stage.
Are we talking about a year from the fall of 2012, or?
No, I'm talking about what we would do is we would start in our shop, we would start to design those early packages right away.
Right.
So they could get going, get those issued, get the steel fabricated, get the people out on site. And then similarly, in parallel, we would be doing the rest of the design in the building that would be following, the early packages, so that we could probably bid sometime in the fall, late fall, the rest of the job outside of those early packages.
It's a basically two-year project, or once?
I know, I think it's, all in all, said and done, I think it's more like a 3-year project, when you look at it, because, you know, you think you've got really 2 schools that you're building here. You're building one, high school and the shared core facilities up front, and typically that would be about, 18 months, plus or minus. And then after that, you've got another school, that you're gonna go and renovate. And, similarly, it's about the same time frame there. And then after that, you've got the demolition and the site work that's going to happen.
But I was looking at, but for the, most of the new, that's what I was, the shared and the high school, that's 18 months, say,
I
from.
think that's really,
Yeah, that's what I was, okay.
yeah, about 2 years.
And then after that, you move on to kids go down to the middle school, if this is how the project's approved, then kids go down to the high school, you do the middle school.
Right.
And then they move back up, and then demolition and the fields, et cetera, follow.
That's correct.
Any other questions or comments? Cliff?
I've been following the space summary plan, sitting in on the meetings, and as well as the secondary building committee meetings, and this plan's moving along very, very nicely. The modifications that have been made along the way from comments are very positive. I think the plan they're coming up with is great, with the open spaces for interdisciplinary meetings and the casual groups that are forecast to be in the future. The Main Street area.
Main Street, I think, is the whole, it's gonna tie
be,
everything together, it's gonna pull it all together.
And provide places for those groups to congregate. And I think that it's moved along very, very nicely, and I think Brad and his group are doing a great job.
Trey, maybe it's too early to do this. I'm just trying to give the community a sense of potential timeframes for when they're gonna see new things open and when their kids are gonna be in them. Because I think if you wanna sell something, the community needs to know. From what you're talking about, it sounds like fall of 2014 for the high school.
That's would be our target, yeah.
Fall of 2015 for the middle school, or later than that?
Might be a little later than that.
Okay. Thanks.
Brad, Rob, thank you. By the way, we are meeting tomorrow night, right?
Yep.
6:30 PM. Public's welcome. We're right here in this very same room. And Brad, you'll be here, I'm assuming?
Rob will be here.
Rob.
I'm gonna be leaving on vacation,
Oh.
but you'll be in good hands.
I was kinda hoping you weren't taking any vacations
I know,
until the fall of
Well,
2014.
These guys are the real workers.
All right, okay.
No, I think it's good. And just also so you know, at some point, we'll be back, and give you another update. I think that the next critical step right now is to work through the package that we just sent to MSBA, and get them to buy into the
See where they
space summary, and then to get them to buy into the concept. And then once we have everybody bought in on that, then we can really start to proceed forward. But one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to get too far out in front of them, and say, this is what we think we should do without their buy-in. So I think that next step is going to be critical. And then, sometime either later in the summer, or, early in the fall, we'll be able to give you another update, so that at that point in time, we will know exactly what the MSBA, where they've landed and what they agree with. And then we can start putting a little bit more definition on this. We'll be getting into something that's a little bit more real for you.
In the school committee, you're caught up right to where we are. I mean, this is basically what we had at our last secondary school building committee, so we're right up to date.
You're
with
actually
everything.
ahead of them.
We are ahead of them, actually, because we've seen the
You have
revised
the most
plan.
revision.
So they're gonna see this tomorrow night.
As it should be.
They just got done this morning.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't have to go tomorrow. Brad, Rob, thank you very much for coming
Thanks a
in.
lot.
Really
Appreciate
appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next, I think, do we have some of the kids here for that project adventure?
Under new business, we have a few things, middle school, project adventure, then the school improvement
Why
plan.
don't we do the
handbook.
project adventure first, because the kids are here, and then.
No,
we
the
can-
kids are here for the science club.
Oh, they're here for the science club?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do,
They're high
you wanna do the
schools.
science club so they can leave? We don't have to torture them any longer?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Bernard?
It's gonna take us just a minute to set up the presentation
Sure.
here.
the most guests we've ever had at a meeting.
I know.
This is
Good to see people out there.
star-studded evening.
They want something from us. That's why they want something from us.
Is there anybody here for Project Adventure other than the principal?
No.
Mrs. Willis?
Yes. It's right there. I'm coming.
Oh, my password bird.
You see it? Yes.
It's interesting, the MSBA process has really slowed
Enter?
down.
Unbelievable.
I know.
There you go.
Cause weren't we talking about a vote in June or something?
Yeah,
originally?
Well, originally, we were hoping to do something in the fall of 2013 as far
Yeah.
as furniture.
Right.
You have to go.
Maybe as we're getting set up, just by way of introduction.
You have to get the approvals at their meeting.
Yeah.
For one.
One thing we didn't ask Dorr and Whittier is,
Okay,
is their design?
thank you.
Bernard, the floor is yours.
For the last couple of months, I've had the pleasure of working with three of our high school students, Zoe Peach, Isha Jane, and Jenna Crawford, who have proposed to me, and now we're here tonight, to seek your approval as a committee for a new club for the high school for the fall of 2011 called the World of Sciences Club. I'd like to turn the presentation over to the three students because they have done an awful lot of work and they're prepared to speak to you. And they will allude to the Science Olympiad that we had been in and had approval from the committee last year as to why this project now is something that they would like to pursue. So that will come up as part of the presentation as well. So, ladies, if you want to, I'll hold this.
So it all started in 8th grade when Mr. G came up to us and was like, "Do you guys want to be part of the Science Olympiad at the middle school?" And so we were like, "Okay, this sounds like a good opportunity." And we thought, and then when we went there, it was like a competition of set up almost like a track meet where we would all be part of one team, but then we would be together competing in individual events. And then if you won your event, you would contribute points to your team, and then they would be ranked according to the state level of middle schools. So then we competed with just public middle schools, and then in high school we realized that there wasn't anything like this. So obviously we can't compete in a middle school level for high schoolers. So we thought we should start one in the high school. So we approached Ms. Kret as our advisor, and she is our advisor right now. And we thought that we should have one also. And then we found out that it was a big thing also for high schoolers around Massachusetts. So then this year we competed against them. And so this year we went to compete against schools like Phillips Academy and Newton North and Newton South. And we found out it was very much bigger than the middle school level. And then now because the events are set up so you're dealing with AP levels and also just regular high school scheduling and high school, those kind of courses to do with math, science, and so then it's kind of anatomy and then also more specific ornithology, which is my event, which is a lot of fun.